There was no shock or comment about, quote, the salary cap and Kawhi, which the whole reason Kawhi's endorsement deal allegedly existed in the first place, was pretty matter-of-factly discussed in direct reference to Steve Ballmer by multiple other high-level aspiration employees, several of whom have become federal witnesses in the DOJ and SEC investigations into Joe Sandberg and aspiration.
Something is coming for Kawhi Leonard, and this time he can't laugh it off. This time, there's no silent shrug, no deadpan press conference, no quiet vanishing act behind load management and injury reports. Because this is Judgment Day. The league has had enough. The fans have had enough. And behind closed doors, so have the executives who once believed in the myth of Kawhi, the Terminator Leonard. That cold-blooded assassin from the Raptors. That two-way beast who once locked down LeBron and dropped 40 like it was nothing. He's gone, and what's left behind? An eerie silence, a $176 million contract, and a shadow of a superstar who seems to vanish when it matters most. But here's what no one's saying out loud. People in the NBA are starting to talk, people close to the Clippers. People who sat courtside, paid millions, invested dreams. And they're saying the same thing. He's stealing time. Yes, it's a chilling phrase, but it's one that's been whispered more than once this season. Because the world gave Kawhi Leonard every benefit of the doubt, injuries, privacy, mental health, whatever he needed. But as the years pass and the stakes rise, what's becoming clearer is this. He may not want it anymore, but he also won't walk away. And now, the league is preparing to make a statement, one that may cost Kawhi his legacy, one that could strip him of the myth he spent a decade building. If you think this is about basketball, you're not paying attention. This is about accountability, image, and the brutal consequences of hiding from greatness. Because silence may be golden, but in this league, it's starting to look like guilt. To understand how we got here, to this point of tension, silence, and looming backlash, we have to rewind the clock. Because Kawhi Leonard didn't just show up in the NBA, he arrived like an anomaly. No flash, no bravado, no social media antics. Just cold eyes, massive hands, and the eeriest presence basketball had seen in decades. In a league dominated by loud personalities and attention-hungry influencers, Kawhi was a ghost, a machine, a silent assassin, and for a long time, that silence was his superpower. It made him mythical, it made him terrifying, it made people fear him, even when they didn't fully understand him. Drafted 15th overall by the Indiana Pacers in 2011 and immediately traded to the Spurs, no one expected Kawhi Leonard to become the face of greatness. He wasn't flashy, didn't command interviews, and barely smiled. But Greg Popovich saw something in him, something unnervingly robotic, and by 2014, that something exploded on the biggest stage. Let's go back to the 2014 NBA Finals. A young Kawhi Leonard stared down a fully weaponized Miami Heat squad. LeBron James, Dwyane Wade, Chris Bosh. This was supposed to be Miami's dynasty moment. Instead, Kawhi shut it down. He locked up LeBron defensively, averaged 17.8 points, 6.4 rebounds, and walked away with Finals MVP at just 22 years old. And here's what shook people the most: he didn't celebrate. He didn't cry, he didn't even look surprised. He looked inevitable. That was the moment Kawhi stopped being a player and became a legend. Overnight, he wasn't just a Spur, he was a force. But like all great legends, the cracks eventually began to show. By 2017, something had changed. He was sitting out games. There were whispers about a mysterious quadriceps injury. Popovich was tight-lipped. The Spurs front office? Frustrated. And then came the rift that no one saw coming. Kawhi versus the Spurs. One of the NBA's most loyal, tight-lipped franchises suddenly found itself leaking frustration left and right. He's medically cleared, but he won't play. He's isolating from the team. He doesn't trust our doctors. No one could understand it. Kawhi Leonard, the silent soldier, was now an uncooperative ghost. Then came the ultimate betrayal. He demanded a trade, not just any trade. He wanted out of San Antonio and preferably to Los Angeles. The NBA was stunned. If Kawhi couldn't be happy in San Antonio, where could he be? The Spurs, under pressure, dealt him to the Toronto Raptors. And that's where the myth was reborn. Let's talk about the 2019 playoffs. Toronto didn't just need Kawhi, they were desperate for a savior. And what did he do? He gave them one of the most electrifying cinematic postseason runs in NBA history. Game winners, lockdown defense. A now iconic four-bounce shot that fell against the 76ers, frozen in time, etched in legend. He carried the Raptors to the finals. And there, against the battered Golden State Warriors, he delivered a championship, Toronto's first. his second. And just like that, Kawhi Leonard became a two-time Finals MVP on two different teams. A feat so rare only a few legends could claim it. His value skyrocketed, and so did his leverage. He was the most wanted man in basketball, and when the dust settled, he did what no one could believe. He left Toronto and signed with the Clippers, but not before forcing them to mortgage their future for Paul George. That's when things started to unravel again. From 2020 onward, the inconsistency returned. Kawhi played and then he didn't. He looked locked in and then he was nowhere to be found. Injury after injury, game after game missed. Load management became a joke, a meme, a punchline, and Kawhi was the poster boy. But while fans joked, front offices started to fume. Because Kawhi wasn't just a player, he was a $176 million investment. An investment that barely touched the court. And the Clippers. They never made it to the finals. Year after year, they fell short. And each time Kawhi missed crucial playoff games, the whispers got louder. Is he even committed? Does he care anymore? Is he just cashing checks and vanishing? Meanwhile, Kawhi never answered. Never defended himself. Never fought the narrative. He simply disappeared again. So here we are. 2024-2025 season. The Clippers have spent more money than any team in history. They have a new arena, a legacy on the line, and a roster begging for redemption. And Kawhi? He's still missing games, still giving blank stares in press conferences, still surrounded by a team of yes men and mystery doctors, still avoiding public accountability like it's the plague. And now, the NBA isn't laughing. Sources say league execs are pressuring teams behind the scenes to put an end to load management abuse. New rules are being drafted. Penalties are being discussed, and whispers are turning into formal complaints. Kawhi Leonard may soon become the first major test case of these new protocols, and if he refuses to cooperate, the consequences could be severe. Not just for his team, not just for his image, but for his entire legacy. Because in a league that worships greatness and punishes indifference, Kawhi is walking a razor's edge. And Judgment Day, it's not a maybe, it's coming. It was supposed to be a comeback season. New arena, a stacked roster, new NBA rules limiting rest days, and Kawhi Leonard back in uniform with something to prove. But by week 3, the cracks weren't just showing, they were splitting wide open. It began with a game against the Denver Nuggets. The Clippers had been hyping this one up for weeks. It was their chance to silence the critics, to prove that Kawhi and Paul George were finally on the same page. The arena was packed. The banners were ready. The pre-game media buildup was relentless. And then 40 minutes before tip-off, the alert came through. Kawhi Leonard out knee soreness. The crowd went silent. The broadcast booth scrambled. The locker room, reportedly in disbelief. According to an anonymous team staffer speaking to a sports blog that later went viral, no one knew until the last second. He just said he wasn't feeling it. Again. The players, furious. The coaches, exhausted. The fans, betrayed. And that's when it started. Number bench Kawhi began trending on Twitter. Then came number fraud alert. Then a now-viral TikTok of a fan burning a Leonard jersey in front of the Crypto.com arena, screaming, "You're not injured. You're just collecting checks and disrespecting us." By morning, the backlash had reached ESPN, F-Zone, and every major sports outlet. But what followed next wasn't just outrage, it was resignation. A shift, a turning point. For the first time, longtime Kawhi defenders, analysts who had praised his stoicism, celebrated his mental health privacy, and protected his load management strategy, began turning on him. Shannon Sharpe called him a part-time legend. Jalen Rose said the mystique is dead. Even Kendrick Perkins, usually over the top, was oddly composed when he said, "Kawhi's silence used to mean focus. Now it means detachment, and I think he's checked out. I think he's done, he just doesn't want to say it." But what really shattered the illusion? A leaked player group chat. That's right, according to sources from a now-removed Reddit thread. A burner phone screenshot from within the Clippers' locker room group chat showed two players questioning Kawhi's commitment openly. One message read, "I don't even know why we plan for him anymore. He gonna bail last minute." Another, "Whole franchise revolving around a ghost." The messages were blurred, no names confirmed, but insiders say it sparked major drama inside the team. That week, Kawhi didn't show up to voluntary film sessions. Reporters noted he left the arena immediately after games. He even skipped post-game press availability twice in a row, prompting a quiet fine from the league. And yet, he still wouldn't talk. No explanation, no clarification, no social media presence. Just that same blank face during warm-ups, headphones on, staring into space like he was somewhere else entirely. But then came the twist nobody expected. An old friend stepped in. Someone Kawhi hadn't spoken to publicly in over 5 years. Greg Popovich. During a post-game interview after a Spurs win, Pop was asked if he still follows Kawhi's career. He paused, gave a deep sigh, and then said, "I hope he's okay, truly, but you can't be in this game halfway. If you're not all in, it shows, and eventually it hurts people." It was a short clip, barely 15 seconds, but it lit the internet on fire. Because for Pop, a notoriously private, disciplined coach, to break his silence about Kawhi, it was a statement, a warning, and fans knew it. They started quoting him on Twitter. Comment sections exploded with speculation. Pop knows something we don't. This is his way of saying Kawhi's lost it mentally. That's the man who made Kawhi. If he's speaking now, it's serious. But it didn't stop there. Within 72 hours, another twist dropped. A leaked medical report, supposedly tied to Kawhi's camp, hit the internet, suggesting that his knee injury was no longer structurally significant. The summary: previous ACL damage has fully healed. Remaining discomfort is psychosomatic, based on pain, anticipation, and prior trauma. In other words, Kawhi's body is fine. His mind is not. Sports psychologists weighed in. Debates raged, and now the narrative had changed completely. This wasn't about caution. This wasn't about rest. This was about fear, doubt, avoidance. And suddenly the idea of Judgment Day wasn't just symbolic, it was clinical. But here's where it got even darker. A viral Twitter space titled "Is Kawhi Done?" drew over 30,000 live listeners in a single night. Among the speakers, a former assistant trainer from one of Kawhi's previous teams. And while they never confirmed their identity, their comments were disturbing. They claimed that Kawhi suffers from competitive paralysis, a mental block where athletes avoid performance out of fear of failure, masked as physical injury. They even suggested that his team has known for years and built his contract around acceptable absence thresholds. Let that sink in. They allegedly structured Kawhi's NBA deal with the assumption that he wouldn't play most games. If true, that would mean the Clippers knowingly signed a star they didn't expect to show up. A media firestorm erupted. Fox Sports, The Ringer, and even Sports Illustrated started digging. And while no one could confirm the claim outright, a startling pattern emerged. Since 2021, Kawhi Leonard has missed over 140 games. That's more than an entire NBA season and playoffs, twice. And yet he's still been paid over $100 million. No public pushback. No interviews explaining his side. Just silence. A wall of legal NDAs and growing resentment from every side. And still, Kawhi remained invisible. No tweets. No press releases. No apology. Just one appearance at a post-game conference where he muttered 17 words total before walking away. But one reporter who caught a glimpse of his phone said he had an open DM from someone named Uncle D. For longtime Kawhi watchers, that name is unforgettable. Uncle Dennis. The man accused of managing Kawhi's career in secret. The man who allegedly demanded private planes, stake in businesses, and power during contract negotiations. And if Uncle Dennis is back in the mix, everything changes. Because wherever Uncle D goes, drama follows. Just when things seemed like they couldn't get any worse, they did. Because remember that cryptic message on Kawhi's phone? The one from Uncle D. Well, it didn't take long for social media sleuths to go into overdrive. Within hours, old associates of Uncle Dennis Robertson, Kawhi's infamous uncle and business advisor, began resurfacing online with bold claims. One account, supposedly from a former Clippers staff member, posted a now-deleted tweet that read, "NBA officials quietly investigated the allegations, but ultimately buried the findings, not wanting to disrupt the arrival of a major star to the Clippers' new super team." But now, those old files are being reopened. Because this time, Uncle D isn't operating in whispers. He's clashing with Clippers management, and insiders say the tension is reaching a boiling point. According to one leaked report from a high-profile NBA writer, a member of the Clippers' front office was recently overheard saying, "We're not running a hostage operation. Either he plays or we start looking elsewhere." And that wasn't just frustration. That was a threat. The Clippers are now said to be internally discussing options if Kawhi doesn't suit up consistently by the All-Star break. One executive reportedly floated the idea of benching Kawhi indefinitely to avoid further embarrassment, while others are considering trading him outright, even at a loss. But here's where the real scandal breaks wide open. A whistleblower, allegedly a former marketing rep connected to Kawhi's endorsement team, leaks a confidential email thread to a popular NBA gossip site. The subject line: load management strategy monetization opportunity. Inside the thread were detailed conversations between Uncle Dennis and several brand reps, openly discussing how Kawhi's mystery and inactivity were actually boosting engagement. Let that sink in. They were allegedly leveraging Kawhi's absence as a branding tactic, creating a myth, fanning speculation, letting fans debate and argue while raking in attention and millions in endorsements. The emails used phrases like, "His silence equals intrigue. The less he speaks, the more they speculate. People tune in because they don't know what he'll do. No exposure is better than overexposure. Kawhi's absence is his brand." Fans were furious. They felt lied to, manipulated, used. What they thought was a quiet, introverted superstar managing injuries may have been a marketing puppet feeding an artificial narrative to the public, all while dodging accountability. The backlash was instant and brutal. Kawhi Khan started trending across platforms. YouTubers dropped hour-long exposés. Reddit threads exploded with timelines, receipts, and charts comparing Kawhi's injuries with brand engagement spikes. Even national news outlets picked it up. ESPN ran a segment titled "Kawhi, Mastermind or Manipulated?" CNN did a piece asking, "Is Kawhi Leonard gaming the NBA system?" But what truly escalated this drama to DEFCO N-5? The NBA Players Association broke their silence. In a shocking move, the NBPA released a vague but clearly targeted statement. Any attempt to monetize or manipulate league policy for personal brand gain undermines the integrity of the game. We are actively reviewing reports of such conduct. That was huge, because for the NBPA, which exists to protect players, to even hint at player misconduct, unprecedented. It meant the league wasn't just gossiping anymore. They were investigating, and if violations were found, Kawhi could face suspensions, fines, and voided bonuses. Worse, if the endorsement manipulation claims held any truth, brands might sue for breach of contract, alleging false representation. Imagine that. Kawhi Leonard sued by Nike or New Balance for building a persona on selective game dodging. The basketball world wasn't just shocked, it was unraveling. But then came the second shocking reveal, the one that changed everything. A highly followed NBA data account posted a now-viral analysis showing that Kawhi's game attendance was higher in cities where his brand deals were strongest. For example, he played in all games scheduled in New York media capital. He showed up every time the team traveled to Toronto, where his shoes still sell out. He consistently avoided games in low-market cities like Orlando, Sacramento, and Charlotte. The numbers didn't lie. It wasn't about rest. It wasn't about injury. It was about visibility where it mattered and silence where it didn't. Suddenly, the theory clicked. The myth of Kawhi's mystery wasn't an accident, it was a strategy. And Uncle Dennis, he wasn't some paranoid relative, he was the architect of a multi-year illusion. The silence, the load management, the ghosting of media, it was all part of the act, a performance. But now, the curtain's falling. And behind it is a man who might not even recognize who he's become. You could feel the shift overnight. The moment the leaked emails and the location-based brand strategy charts hit the mainstream, public perception snapped, not gradually, but like a dam exploding after years of pressure. For nearly a decade, Kawhi Leonard had been wrapped in a cloak of mystery. Fans called it stoic. Analysts called it laser-focused. The league called it unorthodox but effective. But now, the same people who once admired his quiet dominance began tearing that image apart piece by piece. Twitter was in chaos. Instagram comments were flooded. TikTok creators were dissecting every moment of his career with a vengeance. One viral video, titled "Kawhi Was Never That Guy," racked up 12 million views in 24 hours. The creator exposed highlight reels from Kawhi's most celebrated playoff runs and argued that Kawhi was never carrying, he was coasting off stacked rosters and perfect matchups. The comment section: brutal, he's a product of system play. Popovich built the machine, Kawhi just followed instructions. Raptors were built around him for 1 year and he left before they could expose him. The hashtags: relentless. Number silent scammer, number claw crisis, number ghost of the game, and yet, not everyone turned. A counter-movement emerged online, led by loyal fans and former players. Number protect Kawhi started trending. Supporters argued that the backlash was unfair, emotionally driven, and entirely hypothetical. One viral post read, "So now it's a crime to rest, a crime to heal, to not be a puppet for the media every week. Kawhi protected his peace. That's strength, not weakness. Even celebrities jumped in. Lil Baby tweeted, "Y'all love to build 'em up just to tear 'em down. Kawhi ain't the problem, the pressure y'all put on athletes is." Meanwhile, Draymond Green said on his podcast, "This ain't about basketball. This is about a league trying to control people. Kawhi never played their media game and now they mad." But others weren't so forgiving. Charles Barkley, never one to hold back, called it like he saw it. "Look, I love the kid, but if these reports are even half true, that's fraud. You get paid to play. If you're healthy and choosing to sit out to sell shoes, that's a con, period." And Stephen A. Smith, he went nuclear. "Kawhi Leonard owes the public, his teammates, and the league a statement. A real one. Not one of those mumble pressers where he dips after 2 questions. No, we need a full-on reckoning. You can't go dark when the spotlight is on you." But the most explosive reaction came from someone nobody expected, Paul George. During an impromptu Twitch stream while casually playing NB Atwo 1000, Paul George let something slip, and the internet caught it instantly. Responding to a chat message asking about Kawhi, he said, "I mean, I ride for my guy, but sometimes I wish he'd just be straight up, you feel me? Like, just tell us what's up." The clip went viral in minutes. Paul George had just confirmed the one thing everyone feared. Even inside the locker room, they're confused. Even inside the franchise, they feel left out. And now, the fans aren't just watching the fall, they're participating in it. Podcasts, sports radio, Reddit, YouTube, everyone became part of this public tribunal. Kawhi Leonard, the silent star, on trial. But here's where it got even crazier. A Change.org petition began circulating, demanding the NBA establish new criteria for player participation transparency, nicknamed the Kawhi Clause. Within 48 hours, it reached 250,000 signatures. Even lawmakers weighed in. A California congressman tweeted, "If sports leagues want tax breaks, maybe they should require transparency when public money helps fund their arenas." What began as a basketball scandal was now turning into a national conversation on athlete accountability, mental health, public trust, and corporate manipulation. TV networks hosted full panel debates. The Atlantic ran a piece titled "The Ghost of Greatness," when silence becomes suspicion. Even the New Yorker chimed in with a chilling headline, "Can a man who refuses to speak still be trusted?" And the NBA, radio, silence. Adam Silver declined interviews, the Clippers canceled media day. Kawhi remained off-grid, but behind the scenes, sources say it's complete panic. One insider described the Clippers' PR office as Meltdown Central. Another leaked a message from a private NBA executive WhatsApp chat. "This isn't just bad optics, it's a precedent. If we don't fix this, every star player will use mental health to duck accountability and will have no way to prove otherwise." And the word blacklist has allegedly been floated. Not officially, not on paper. But if the allegations continue to pile up and Kawhi refuses to address them, there's growing talk that teams will stop trusting him, stop pursuing him, stop negotiating with his camp altogether. A slow, silent exile. One that doesn't come with a press conference, but a phone that stops ringing. And still, Kawhi says nothing. No apology, no rebuttal, no tweet, no post. Just that same disappearing act, one that once felt intriguing, but now feels hollow. A silence that once stood for dignity now reeks of avoidance. And in the court of public opinion, that silence is deafening. Just when the dust seemed to be settling, just when the media started circling back to other storylines, just when fans began saying, maybe it's all overblown, boom. A new leak, a new source. And this time it wasn't an intern, an assistant, or a marketing rep. This time, it was Kawhi's own trainer, a man who had been with him since the Spurs days. A man who'd kept quiet through San Antonio, Toronto, and the entire Clippers era. A man who until now had never spoken publicly about anything. But now, he couldn't stay silent anymore. He reached out to an anonymous NBA news podcast under a voice modulator and a pseudonym. But his receipts, unmistakable. Training logs, medical reports, confidential injury assessments, private messages, everything. And what he revealed, it didn't just confirm the fears, it amplified them. Because according to him, Kawhi was physically cleared to play in 90% of the games he sat out. Let that sink in, not questionable, not 50/50, cleared. But chose to sit anyway on his own terms, often last minute, sometimes without alerting his teammates until warm-ups. And the reason, not pain, not fear. Not strategy, control. He believed playing less would elongate his career, the trainer said. He thought limiting exposure would boost his mystique and avoid scrutiny. It was like some genius chess game in his head. The final bomb. He told me once, "I don't need the league needs me." And in that moment, it all made sense. The ghosting, the dodged press, the vanishing acts, the frozen expressions, the whispers of entitlement. Kawhi didn't just play mysterious, he believed the entire NBA revolved around him. And that belief might have just cost him everything. Because the moment that podcast dropped, the NBA launched a formal investigation. Not internal, not quiet, public. A full-on inquiry into the Clippers' medical transparency, Kawhi's load management, and potential breaches of conduct. News anchors called it the Leonard probe. Twitter exploded with number NBA Judgment Day. And fans weren't just curious anymore, they were angry. Angry that they bought jerseys. Angry that they paid for games where he didn't show. Angry that they defended someone who may have been playing them all along. But the most chilling moment came hours later, a press release from the Clippers organization. Brief, sterile, but unmistakable. "We have mutually agreed with Kawhi Leonard to pause all team activities pending further internal discussions." No clarification. No timeline, no denial, just a pause. And in NBA language, that's not a timeout, that's a warning shot. A signal flare to the rest of the league that even legends, if they overstep, can be benched. And now, Kawhi Leonard stands alone. No press team speaking for him, no uncle in front of cameras, no teammates backing him publicly, just silence. And suddenly that once powerful quiet feels like the sound of a career unraveling. So where does this leave us? Is Kawhi the misunderstood genius who tried to beat a broken system? Or is he the conman of the century, hiding behind silence while cashing checks and ghosting fans? Was he protecting himself, or just playing all of us? And more importantly, is this the end of Kawhi Leonard as we knew him? Or is he about to return with a vengeance so loud it shuts every mouth that ever doubted him? We don't know yet, no one does, but what we do know is that the next time Kawhi steps on a court, if he ever does, the world will be watching. Not with admiration, not with patience, but with expectation. And on that day, when the cameras zoom in, when the lights hit his face, he won't just be playing for a win. He'll be playing for redemption. Because in the NBA, silence protects you until it doesn't. And for Kawhi Leonard, that day is no longer a maybe. It's coming, it's already here. Judgment Day has arrived. So now we've seen the rise, the myth, and the silent collapse. But where do you stand? Is Kawhi Leonard a misunderstood icon, a genius ahead of his time, or has he been hustling the league this entire time, playing us like a game he thought he'd already won? Because when the receipts dropped, when the trainer spoke, when the Clippers hit pause, it became clear. This isn't just about one player. This is about legacy. This is about truth. This is about what happens when silence becomes the loudest scandal of all. And now, it's your turn to weigh in. Speech balloon, do you think Kawhi has been faking injuries to manipulate the system? Speech balloon, should the NBA punish him or protect him? Speech balloon, and if you were the Clippers GM tomorrow, would you keep him or trade him immediately? Scroll down to that comment section and sound off. Don't hold back. This moment isn't just basketball drama, it's NBA history in real time. And if this video had you shocked, if you felt the heat of every twist, if you're still trying to process everything you just heard, smash that like button. Let the algorithm know the truth needs to be heard, and you're here for it. Bell and subscribe right now, because what's coming next? It's even wilder. A new report is circulating. A different all-star has just been linked to Kawhi's inner circle. And someone deep in the league office just leaked private communication suggesting this pause might turn into something permanent. You won't want to miss what drops next. So hit that bell, strap in. And remember, when the truth gets too quiet, we turn up the volume. This is far from over. See you in the next one.